You know, when I started out, I didn't have so many of these skills that we've talked about today. And it almost cost me my life. At your tables, as I begin to tell you my closing story here, I'd like you to grab, you have a little white card and a little green card. And if each one of you will take a white card and green card, I'm going to ask you to write something on the back of that in just a minute. The white card has Lenny on it. You have your 3 R's of shedding right on the front. The back of it has your shed styles and gives you a tip or two of how to adapt your style to get those results. And in just a minute, I'm going to have you write on the back of that Lenny card, what will you shed today? It was 1987, and life was good. I was at work, and the phone rang. Dr. Ghazali? Yes, I'm fine. How are you? Yeah, I'm just here giving the patient some medication. Sure, I'd be glad to take some test results for you. Mine? Are you sure? I'd just been given my death sentence. AIDS. You see, I was a nurse working in the emergency room, and a trauma patient came in, and we ended up cracking this guy's chest, and my hands were wrist deep inside him. I happened to have a cut on my finger. And as many of you well know, back in the mid-'80s, we didn't wear gloves. Well, the doctor said, calm down, we're going to run confirmatory tests. But weeks later, all the confirmatory tests also came back positive. Next thing I know, the CDC was involved, and I was about to become their poster child. You see, I was the first healthcare worker in the United States to test positive from an on-the-job exposure. I sat down and mustered the courage to tell my boss. She was so sympathetic. I said, Kathy, if this news gets out, this hospital will shut down. I'm sorry, but you can't work here anymore. What? I can't do what I love to do? And then I sat down and told some people at my church. And to my amazement, some of them alienated me. I could overhear them whispering, should we even touch her? Well, as you imagine, I wasn't coping well. I stopped eating, I stopped sleeping, I stopped doing all those things that we counsel people to do, especially during times of stress. My lowest point was one night in graduate school. I arrived in class that night and overheard the professor. Okay, folks, everybody take your seats. We're going to be watching a video tonight called Living with AIDS. For over an hour, I sat there, and I watched people waste away on that screen. My classmates were blown away with the disease. Little did they know who was sitting next to them. Well, I left class that night, and I determined one thing. I wasn't going to die that way. I determined I would choose how it would go. So I got in my car, and my mind started racing. It was racing around a track called regrets. Regrets that I hadn't spent enough time with my family and friends. I was always too busy. Regrets that I hadn't taken the time to find out who Kathy Dempsey was. Well, I found myself in a hotel parking lot. It was dark and rainy. I just sat there. I pulled the bottle of pills out of my purse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, 10 won't do it. I've seen too many people survive on 10. I better take them all. I was jolted back to reality with knocks on my car door window. Are you okay? No. I'm scared and I'm lonely. But the woman got in the car and she held my hand and she helped me get through the night. Oh, I'd like to tell you that after that I was coping better. But talk about above the neck constipation. Talk about 93%, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. 100% of my thoughts were consumed with my demise. I wasn't in the now. 3 months later, I was sitting in my living room watching my new TV set, and the phone rang. Guess who it was? The doctor. He said, Kathy, I don't know what to say. All your tests, all 8 of your tests have come back negative. You're not HIV positive. And there was this longest stream of silence over the phone. And I just sat there, staring at my new TV set, thinking, why? Why? Bottom line, why didn't I buy the extended warranty? Seriously. Some people call that a medical error. I call it a miracle. It was the best gift that anybody could have given me. All those regrets I had back in the car, now I could do something about them. It was kind of like a VCR, and I got to push rewind. You know, I wonder, what would you do? Would you have any regrets? What would they be? What picture comes to mind? You know, some of you may be sitting there thinking, energy. I used to hop out of bed. I could not wait to get to work. It gave me energy. Now it drains my energy. Well, maybe it's time to shed. Or maybe it's just time to shed your negative mental model of work. Some of you may say, I've always wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get my bachelor's. I wanted to get my master's. I wanted to get my doctorate. I wanted to get my certification. Why wait? It is one of the best strategies that you can implement to prepare yourself for whatever happens in healthcare. Some of you may be saying, I'm trying to control everything. I'm trying to control my employees. I'm trying to control the doctors. I'm trying to control my kids who aren't making the healthiest decision. I'm trying to control my spouse. And I'm draining my energy. I'm not in the now. I'm always somewhere else. And some of you may say, I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not eating right. I'm not sleeping right. I'm not exercising. You know, this past week, I lost one of my mentors in life, Zig Ziglar. And he was such an incredible mentor when I started out, and I was so afraid of speaking. wrote this incredible congratulatory letter on my first speech. And he gave me 2 pieces of advice. Carefully and prayerfully prepare for each speech. And give each speech as if it was my last. ... Because one day, Kathy, it will be your last. And I think that's just incredible advice for life. Carefully and prayerfully prepare for each day. And live each day as if it were your last. So as we come to the conclusion of this morning, I'm just going to ask you to take 60 seconds and write down one thing on that little card. Because you're going to look back on this day and either say, I'm glad I did, or I wish I would have. So what's that one thing that you'd like to do different? 60 seconds on that little card. What will you shed today?